One. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful to be joined by Rachel Maurice, the Unconventional MD, for part two. We'll put part one in the show notes down the bottom. Rachel shared her story. She's gone bonkers now in the last 2 years. She's been on Jason Christoph's podcast. She's been on other platforms now. And I just thought we'd circle back and have a chat about blue light and a bit more of her story and wherever else we go today. So, Rachel, welcome back to my show. It's been a while. How you
For
been
having
going?
me.
And you've just completely gone like that. If you're watching on YouTube, Rachel's just off into the ethers now. So, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to be on and have a chat. Yeah, lots has happened in the last couple of years for me.
Yes. You want to share some of that, Rachel? What has been going on since our last chat?
Yeah. Okay. Well, just for listeners that have not heard my story, I'll just briefly share that I worked. So I'm in Canada. I worked in Canada as an anesthesiologist, a traditional, conventionally trained anesthesiologist for close to 20 years, and I left in 2021. I did not think that I would be gone for very long. So I left in the fall of 2021 with the mandates that came down for me in BC. So I'm in British Columbia, the west coast of Canada. And I started doing a lot of research and listening to alternative information and platforms because so much of what was happening in the hospital setting was different from everything that I'd been taught and we'd been practicing for the last however many years, 30 years in medicine. And one of those things, we were kind of chatting before, and is kind of a big point for people that they don't quite understand is I had been working in the operating room the last previous 15 years before I left. I rarely wore a mask. I only wore a mask when I personally was doing procedures that were invasive, putting big IVs into the neck or into the arteries in the wrist. Those were, you want to make sure you had sterile procedure. But other than that, there was all of the research that I had been taught and read in my anesthesia residency, and everyone in the OR knows that the masks don't prevent and don't increase any risk of infection. So unless you are around the sterile field, you only need to prevent any large particulate matter from going into the sterile the sterile field. So yeah, that was just one thing that so many people, or one of the things that for me was completely mind blowing, that suddenly it became this thing we had to do that was going to prevent infection, which my entire career before that we'd been practicing and knowing that it did not do that. So not to harp on that, but but it seems to be something that people pick up on when I mention it. So that kind of thing along those lines is what I started doing some digging, because things just weren't making sense to me. And I thought that I'd be going back, but the mandate stayed in place in British Columbia, Canada, for 3 years, despite everywhere else in the world lifting them. And I was not going to be moving because my children were here. Their dad and I are not together. And so the kids were staying in BC, and I was not going to be leaving them. But what happened was I started uncovering a lot of information that I was not taught in my traditional medical school education, coming from other medical doctors, other scientists, other PhDs, not just people off the cuff sharing information. And this stuff led me to actually crumbling the entire foundation of everything I learned in my traditional medical education. And
Wow.
what I mean by that, yeah, it was pretty disturbing to say the least at the beginning, because it made me feel like I don't know what I'd done for the last 30 years in my schooling, and my career, and that's all I had known. And so it's not to say that everything I learned was incorrect or completely incorrect. It was just very incomplete. And what I mean by that is, being in the operating room, I manipulated the body's physiology with drugs, with medications, right? So I was manipulating the biochemistry, and that's the premise of the model that medicine uses today, modern medicine, is that the body runs on biochemistry, all our hormones, neurotransmitters, and we can manipulate the biochemistry as well as in the operating room, we can manipulate the physical body and do different things, take things out, put things in, fix things. Um, but what I was learning was upstream from the biochemistry, the signaling for all of the biochemistry to take place came from light. So light is actually the primary signal for how all of the biochemistry, which is downstream, runs. So as much as you might want to try, and I don't mean you and the royal, not the royal we, try to fix things with biochemistry and medications, that's downstream. And so you're never going to actually get at the root of the cause or fix things when you are looking at the downstream um, sequence, right? Because what's upstream, the signal from upstream is still going to be the same. So it's kind of like trying to bail water out of a boat that's got a hole in it still, right? You're just going to be going in circles, and you may get some temporary relief, but you're never going to actually truly heal. And so this is really what led me into learning about how the body heals. And I say this tongue in cheek. When I discovered Joe Dispenza and I heard his story, and he talked about how when he was taught what he was taught in chiropractic school, because he had an injury himself and he ended up healing himself. He just thought about it himself in his own mind and thought that the words that came to him, what he was taught was the power that made the body heals the body. And I remember hearing that. It's seared in my mind because I remember thinking I was never taught that in medicine. And again, it seems a little ironic that I would have to be taught that. I think we should, in a sense, instinctively know that
Mhm.
our body knows how to heal. We cut ourselves, and naturally, there's a healing process. And we've just been so conditioned, and and I'm sure a lot of your audience who follows Jason as well, right, knows that we are so programmed and conditioned by society and what we're taught through the education system, through the media, the television, the radio, everything, that doctors are the echelon of society that heals people, which is not true, right? It's just there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's not what happens. The body heals itself. And how I had been taught the body works and how it heals was not accurate. And so all of this learning, I ended up coming across a new paradigm of health called quantum biology. I went through a certification, and actually there's a new board certification through the American Naturopathic Medical Certification Board. And so I wrote that exam. So now I'm technically board certified in quantum biology. So just, I know you might want to ask some questions in there, but just again, for the listeners, fundamentally what that means, quantum biology, is how the body works on a subatomic level, meaning how the body responds through the electron transfer, the protons, and the neutrons. So it's below and smaller than the cells and the biochemicals that float around in the body.
That's cool. That's really interesting. So tell me more about it. So with quantum biology, when if you have a client come to you of any age with what you were taught to what you are doing now, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing now as opposed to what you were doing? What are the key differences now? Obviously, not giving them prescription meds and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and my medical career was very different from the average physician too, because I worked in the operating room. So that was um, basically helping the surgeons either cut parts out or replace things. But what the way the practice is different really is fundamentally much of the issues can be corrected with lifestyle changes.
Ah,
Lifestyle
yes.
changes can
Mm.
be difficult for people. And so that's why like the easy button is to take a pill, um, or have a surgery, right? And that's what we understand things as quick fixes. They're not quick fixes and they don't actually fix things. They, for example, giving a medication, I kind of liken it to if you brought your car into the mechanic because you've got a caution light on. You'd want your mechanic to go looking to see why the caution light is on, not just go underneath and pull the wires apart so that caution light no longer is blinking driving the car. The problem still exists. So that's kind of what happens with medications. You turn off that caution light, the problem is still there. And so it's either just going to be temporarily abated, but it will eventually continue to get worse if you haven't taken away the reason for the problem. So the lifestyle changes are really key, and they are not just the lifestyle changes that or lifestyle habits that we think about and hear a lot about on social media and with biohackers and stuff. And what I grew up with thinking, oh, if you exercise and you eat right, then you should be healthy. And I would say in the ideal world, yes, right? In this modern world, that's not what
Hmm.
we've done our surroundings. So there's a lot more nuance to it. There's a lot more intricacies that we have to intentionally put into place. And the starting point for me with people is I have to, first of all, meet them where they're at.
Mm.
And I might see them and talk to them and think, oh my goodness, okay, we have to change this, 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 and this. But we have to be realistic in terms of what they are willing to change and how easy things are. And what I find is once people start to see changes happen in their body, they become more motivated.
Mm.
And the simplest thing to start with is actually what you're wearing, and that's blue blocking glasses.
Mm.
And I say that because really the first thing I want people to do is wake up at sunrise and go outside and see the sunrise with naked eyes. But it's very difficult to get people to get up at that time, depending on where you are and what time of year it is, because people are exhausted these days. They don't
Hmm.
have the, and if they're sleeping, they don't want to drag themselves out of bed. So putting blue blocking glasses on at sunset the night before, which is really doesn't take any time or effort out of your day. It doesn't change anything that you're doing. You literally just put blue blocking glasses on. That will naturally change the hormonal shifts going on in your body and make you tired sooner. So you end up shifting your sleep. So then it will become easier to wake up in the morning earlier to be able to see the sunrise.
Yeah, and I've found that a lot in my own health journey too. Just want to quickly just jump in and just say that just through my own stuff, as soon as a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should look into Dr. Jack Cruz with the lights and that," I just jumped straight into it and then just ordered the glasses and done. But I noticed a huge difference in where I am now in terms of where I live. That where, as I was saying off air, where I was from, I had the glasses on in the last couple of years of it, and I found that I was waking up earlier anyway on a really cold morning and still doing something rather than just laying in bed the whole time. And then my glasses broke this time last year, so I actually was in between pairs, and I noticed a real difference in my wake up of the morning and going to bed of the night time was different until I got the glasses back. So even in my own journey, I've noticed a huge shift in that. Just having more energy to get out of bed of a morning, do my meditation, breath work, and then go to the gym, watch the sunrise too. It's just anyone out there listening, like I'm the perfect test case for this. It's unbelievable. And then when you
Yeah,
don't have them, as opposed when you do, huge difference. Yeah.
it really does. And
Yep.
that's what a couple of things shifted for me because prior to that, I was so depleted of energy during the day. I was so tired that I literally had trouble keeping my eyes open while I was driving during the
Oh.
day. That's how tired I was. And this is when I stumbled across Dr. Jack Cruz, actually through one of Jason's email lists, one of the videos he sent out. It wasn't talking about that. It was talking about fluoride. But then I just started listening to a lot of what he was saying, and many other people out there who are sharing this information. But I literally got the blue blockers and started waking up because I can force myself to do things. I started waking up at sunrise and making sure I was getting outside. And within 2 weeks, I had zero fatigue during the day. I had an abundance of energy, and I could not believe the change and how quickly it can happen,
Yeah.
right? It's fast.
Mm.
And even I know we were talking about there are different blue blocking glasses. And I think it's
Yes.
important to clarify. Um, the there are some people out there who will say, well, yeah, but the research shows that the blue blocking glasses don't do anything.
Oh, I had that person
Now,
come to me at the gym off air, remember?
yes.
Yeah.
So
Had that
yeah,
conversation myself.
yeah, and it's borne out in the research. But what isn't disclosed when the research is shared is those studies were done with blue blocking glasses that had clear lenses.
Yes, there's the difference.
The clear lenses block a percentage of the blue light, but not the blue light that is coming from the technology screens and the LED lights. So it's not actually blocking the blue light that is coming from the technology. So it's not going to be helpful because it's using or it's blocking the wrong frequencies, a small portion and lower frequencies. So they have to be like, you've got some yellow tinged. I have mine indoors because I'm outside right now, and so I don't need to wear the blue blocking glasses when I'm outside because I've got an abundance of natural light
Mm.
around me. Balance everything. Because from our technology, we're getting primarily exclusively blue light, whereas outside we have at least 50, if not more, depending on the time of day, percent of red and infrared, which are the healing frequencies. But the yellow, the ones that you're wearing, they block um, part of the blue. They don't block all of the blue because blue light is not inherently bad. Blue light is what we use outside in nature from the sun for our bodies to tell the time of day, for our brain, and then signal to our bodies to tell the cells what time of day it is so they know what functions to perform and when. So we don't want to block all of it. We don't want that excess coming from our technology and from artificial light. So that's why we wear the yellow ones during the day. But then at sunset, the blue light disappears. And when that happens, that is the signal for melatonin to start to rise in our blood released from the pineal gland. So if we don't block the blue light from artificial light, we're not going to get that rise in melatonin. We're still going to get cortisol release because that's what blue light does is it tells our body to release cortisol. So when we put the orange blue blockers on at sunset, the orange or the amber, that blocks 100% of the blue, which mimics what's happening outside when the sun sets. And that will then allow the melatonin to rise, the cortisol to diminish, and get our bodies to naturally become sleepy and go to bed at the time that we're designed to.
Mm. Just say people out there now are about to have their minds blown, which is this podcast is all about mind-blowing information. Just say if someone, has like a lot of people are struggling out there financially too. Do people have to pay a lot for these glasses? I know mine were only $120, but that's Australian. Because there are expensive ones. Like, does it matter? Does it matter the price
It
range?
doesn't it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be expensive. There are
Yep.
companies, Spectra, I think it's Spectra 479,
Yep.
469,
I've heard of them.
and they're literally $30.
Mm,
So
there you go.
they're not the most aesthetic. There are expensive companies out there, and they've got, a whole bunch of different frames that you can choose from. So it depends,
Yep.
what depends what you want there. But, even my son, so he is away at university throughout the year, and I sent him with a bunch of stuff. you never know whether kids are going to use it or not.
Yeah.
And he actually shared with me, so he wears the yellow ones. He even wears the yellow ones at night. He didn't want to wear the orange ones. You take what you can get with kids. But he noticed when he wasn't wearing them, because he's in front of everything now in school is in
Yeah,
front of
true.
screens. He noticed that when he wasn't wearing them, that he would get eye strain and headaches. And so he's using them all the time. But he also said, even though they were the yellow ones he was wearing at night, he didn't wear them during final exam time because he said they made him sleepy and he needed to stay up to study. So even the yellow ones. So for those people out there who can't get their kids to use the orange one, even the yellow ones will be a good start.
Yep. And if anyone wants a link, I have a affiliate with Bond Charge, the Australian company. So if anyone in Australia wants these glasses, there's a link in the bottom. You get 15% off. Use, I think my code's Nathan 10 or something, or Breaking Free or something. It's all the information will be in the show notes. If anyone out there that wants to get some glasses that are in Australia. If anyone's listening in Canada, what company can they use? We'll put a link to that in the bottom as well for people that are in Canada. Rachel, they want
Yeah,
some glasses?
my favorite are the Viva Rays.
Viva
Um,
Rays, I'll write that down.
yeah, and they actually are shipped right from within Canada. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
So I've got some other questions too. So when I first started the journey, I had the clear ones on. The last podcast we did, mine were clear. They were sold and packaged as computer glasses. Just for anyone out there, I've now changed to the yellow ones, and I've even noticed a difference in the like more of the lights clearly blocked with the yellow ones on. Just another question for people out there as well that people want to have some questions. I just thought of one. Just say they don't have the glasses yet. Can we like candlelight and turn the lights off? Is that an option? We can just sit in darkness. Like I know for me, sometimes I'll just turn all the lights off and just be in darkness. Does that work the same way? I think it does, but anyone
Yeah,
out there?
well, definitely. I mean, I have, but this, if people are struggling financially, I was going to say, I've got some other tools, but then of course that is, is there's a cost to that. But, you can change your light bulbs to red. That's what I have every other one.
Yes.
My kids like everything red. So we all have light bulbs in our house. You can still find, well, at least here you can find red incandescents. Um, Incandescents are better than LEDs.
Yep.
They're still at night. You want to have minimal light as possible. You also want to not have overhead lighting on. So if it is possible to have table height lamps, and the reason for that is because the blue light receptors that are in our eyes, they are on the bottom part of our retina. So when the sun is overhead, we get the light coming in and hitting the bottom part of our retina to tell us it's daytime. So that's when the peak blue is seen. So if we have overhead lighting on in the house at night, it's going to simulate daytime. So if we have table height lamp, or even, lights that are on the ground, which most people don't have, but at least lower lights, then the light is going to be coming in at a horizontal level. There's less of a chance that it's going to hit the melanopsin, the blue light receptors that are on the bottom portion of the retina. So table height or lower lamps, changing light bulbs to red incandescent. You can also change, if you've got an iPhone, you can change your phone
Mm,
screen to red. You can actually just put a search that in YouTube and it will show you. It's really quite simple.
yep.
If you have an Android, there's an app called Twilight that will do it. And what's it called? The night mode that's in the iPhone does not do anything.
No.
They, but they tell you it does, but it doesn't. So you literally have to turn your phone screen red. And there's also a software program for computers if people are using computers after
Ooh,
sunset. Yeah, it's called Iris Tech. I
right.
actually all of on my website, um I've got a product recommendations page. So I've got all of the things that I use or have vetted.
Perfect. We'll put a link to
Yeah,
that in the
Iris
show
Tech.
notes too. Yep.
Yeah, The Iris Tech is really good. It's $60 for lifetime. So you get all
Really?
the, yeah.
Okay, I've written that down. I'm going to put a link directly to that in the show notes as well for people as well. Got a very, very awesome resource full of show notes here, Rachel. It's good. Just another one, just to circle back to the whole where was I going with this? Yeah, so why aren't we taught this stuff? Like we both know why, but for someone out there that's gonna ask the question, I always get asked this: why aren't we taught this, Rachel? Why aren't we taught this?
Yeah. We aren't taught it for a reason.
Hmm.
And I think most humans inherently feel that everyone else is looking out for their best interest. And I didn't think, especially in Canada, and I'm sure Australia's the same because it's socialized healthcare, right?
Hmm.
Or if we want to call it disease care, it it is a business. Most of us don't understand that it's a business, but it's a business, and the business model is to keep people sick. And so if we understood how to make ourselves healthy without needing medication and surgery, we would put those people,
And
the
the business.
pharmaceutical industry, out of business. Yeah.
Yeah,
We because I mean, how did people survive before the 1900s with the change in the Rockefeller system taking over medical school education and outlawing all the previous types of healing? And, I just learned the other day that when the Rockefellers changed the model, they kept homeopathy for themselves.
correct.
Those were their doctors, were homeopaths, but everyone
Yes.
else used this new way of.
I've spoken to Melissa Kupch, who's a homeopath here in Australia, on my podcast a few times, and she's brought that information to my audience too as well. And that might be someone you should connect with. She's really awesome, actually. But yeah, that's because I often say I seem to think, Rachel, people have forgotten these simple health protocols, these simple things that we used to do back in millennia. But that's to do with the other layer to this, which is the mind control, the brainwashing, the propaganda, and the fear that it seems to have wiped people's memory of how we used to do things back in the day. And now it's like this modern way, and they'll use the excuse of, well, the sun's warmer. The sun's the same temperature as what it was back then as it is now. You know what I mean? Like, how can we keep breaking that spell for people? Like, I know why I'm doing this show, which is another reason as to that, but for someone out there that's listening and watching, that's gonna like, how can we just move forward with this stuff? If that makes
I think
sense.
it's those of us that know just keep sharing the information. And because I mean, sharing the information, but also my purpose and my goal is really to help people in the simplest ways possible clean up their bodies and their brains so that they can then start to use their brain the way we are supposed to be using our brains, because we have so much inflammation. We're being bombarded by toxins, whether it's in the air, the food, the water, all of the electromagnetic frequencies. That is, I saw a post today. One of the people in my community did this amazing visual of what if the EMFs were visible. And so you saw, like, the picture was amazing, because most people just think that because we don't see it's not part of, your everyday thoughts. And so you don't think that it's going to be harmful if you don't see it. It's not visible. We just don't
Mm-hmm.
think about it. But when people, I cringe when I see people put the AirPods in, right? And
Oh,
sometimes
same.
my like,
Yeah.
because once again, coming from the old system, the conventional system, we have used energy for diagnostic purposes. We've got electrocardiograms that monitor the heart, the electrical current coming from the heart. We've got EEGs, which measure the electrical current coming from the brain. We have EMGs used for muscle. We have an MRI, a magnetic resonance imaging. And those are all commonplace and accepted. But when you've got moving electrons, you automatically have 90 degrees to it, a magnetic field. So that is energy. So our body is made of energy, but it's completely taken out of any therapeutics in the Rockefeller medical system. And it's mocked, it's criticized, it's ridiculed to even talk about any kind of energetic treatment. But we are energetic beings, and the communication that takes place happens through electron transfer, but also through light. So when we've got these electromagnetic frequencies that are man-made, they actually interfere with the natural native ones that come from the light, from the sun, from the earth, from the animals around us. And so then our body gets confused. So it really does have an impact. I mean, that's only one thing that it does. There are many others, but it's it's just it's frustrating when it is invisible. So people just think it doesn't really exist. But they'll look at their phone, they'll send an email, and they know that it goes to their friend or somewhere else across the world. Well, how did it get there? Right?
Yep. And that same system exists within us. We can do that as well. That's why that's here. It's a replica of what we already have here in the human vessel. Like Jason
Yes.
talks about it. We're our own Wi-Fi towers. We get messages and, stuff. It's like, how do those thoughts come into your head if you know what I mean? Like, we have that exact same system within the body, but you're just told you don't and you have no power, right?
Yes.
Mm,
And that reminded me, if you don't mind me sharing this,
go for it.
I was just looking at a post today, a video that someone had put up from, I'm not sure if you're aware of Confluence. Alex Zek puts on, I think this is it's the third year that it's happened. Anyways, I went last year. It was amazing. It was on this sovereignty farm. And I heard this woman speak about what I'm going to share. And then this year, she actually brought children to show how this phenomenon is actually working so people could see that it's a real thing. But literally, she helps children um, be able to use their other senses while blindfolded, but be able to literally read blindfolded, be able to see colors. You put up sheets of paper that have different colors, and they can name the color while they are totally blindfolded, and do all sorts of things. And it's because they've not gotten to that point yet where they don't believe that it's
Correct.
possible. It's not possible.
Mm.
So once you get to a certain stage and there's just that belief system that is ingrained, it would be very difficult. But it's remarkable. It's remarkable how much power we have, and we have just been led astray in thinking that we don't have any power.
Yep. And the more we keep ripping those band-aids off, and the more we keep ripping the cords out, we can do all this now. We can blindfold ourselves and do it, but we don't believe that we can. That's how powerful our minds are. We can talk about this for hours, like hours on end about this stuff. Hey, just wanted to touch on, if you're watching on YouTube, you might have noticed Rachel's patch on her arm. What's that all
Oh
about? The
yeah.
patch. Yep. You've flashed it a few times. People probably like, oh, what's the patch? No, Rachel is not being jabbed. That's not that patch.
No, definitely. So interestingly, as I was learning all about light, unlearning a lot of what I'd learned, relearning about light, and understanding that at the center of our health are these little energy factories called mitochondria. They produce the energy, and the reason we are alive is because we make energy. So no energy, no life. So the mitochondria are very key. And I started using and helping people share that red light therapy targets the mitochondria, literally helps with certain specific processes generate energy. So red light panels, red and near infrared were kind of like my favorite. Is my favorite tool. Outside being the one for free, and we should be getting more of, but living an indoor life that can help. So I heard about these patches from the quantum biology community, but I hadn't really investigated because I thought it was just another way of getting red light, to be honest. And it wasn't until someone I was working with doing some trauma work. I've been working with her for a year. She had to take a few months off because she was going through some really arduous times. And when she came back, a whole bunch of awful things had transpired in her life. And we got on a Zoom, and she was radiant. She was glowing. She looked amazing. And I said, you should look like you've been through a train wreck. And I said, you look incredible. And she said, well, I said, what are you doing? She said, I've been wearing these patches. And I said, oh, okay, now I've got to investigate because clearly I don't know what they really are all about. And so basically, I'll try to give this in a short summary, but rather than it's a type of phototherapy, it's a wearable type of phototherapy. Instead of using an outside source of light that you plug in, like a red light panel, it uses our light that we produce. So again, not something I was taught in medical school. We produce our own infrared. We also produce a type of ultraviolet, but let's focus on the infrared. Our mitochondria in our cells that produce energy produce infrared heat, light. So these patches use that light. They reflect specific frequencies of light back into the body to cause physiologic changes. So just so people can understand, most people understand we have to go outside to get some ultraviolet B light on our skin to make vitamin D. Most people understand if we go outside without sunscreen, we get ultraviolet light on our skin and our skin changes color and we get a tan. And that's because melanin is produced. So the light signals our body to have physiologic changes. That is what's happening with these patches. And the inventor is just brilliant. And he doesn't even take credit. He just says he gets downloads and he's sharing with the world the downloads that he gets. But he figured out with this particular patch that was released in 2019, because the company's 20 years old, but this 2019, he figured a way to how to increase a special copper peptide that we already have in our bodies, but it declines with age. This copper peptide, for those who have an interest in knowing specifically what it is, it's GHKCU, which is three amino acids, glycine, histidine, and lysine, with a copper. The Cu is copper. So it's a copper peptide that's got 50 years of research behind it. It was discovered in 1973, and it is known as the holy grail of age reversal. And the reason it's known as that, it's got a whole bunch of effects, but one of the big reasons is because it helps activate our dormant stem cells, and it helps with proliferation, meaning generating more of our own stem cells. So again, for those that are not familiar with what stem cells are the cells that contain all of the instructions to become any cell that it needs to in the body. And the reason we need stem cells is because, just like, I don't usually like to liken our body to a car, but the more, you use the car, you drive the car, there's wear and tear, things need to be fixed and replaced. Same thing with our body. We use our body, there's damage, there is, death of cells, and they need to be replaced. They're replaced by stem cells. As we age, our stem cells decline. So by the time we're 30, we've half of our stem cells have gone dormant.
That's
Half.
my age.
By the time we're 60, 90% of our stem cells have gone dormant. So that's why we don't heal the same. We don't recover from illness the same. I mean, I witnessed that my whole career in the hospital with people not being able to heal. Granted, it's not a healing environment. But that's another topic. So these patches really, in essence, boils down to they support our body in increasing stem cell activity and therefore aid in enhancing our body's healing mechanisms. And when I started investigating, it was timely because my mom's health was really starting to decline. And her doctors were talking about heart surgery. And while I know we can pull just about anybody through an anesthetic, it's a matter of how they recover from there afterwards. And my mom's not, I know that she would not have done well. So I said, we're going to do this. You're going to go on these patches for a year. Again, the person who ended up introducing me to them and is on my team now, was a cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years. She shared with me investigations, and not just stories, not just subjective stories, but literally electrocardiograms and echocardiograms of people who had used these patches for 8, 10, 12 months, who
Wow.
had severe heart failure and rhythm disturbances and a whole bunch of other issues. And after the time period, she showed the changes, and they they were like nothing that I've seen in the 30 years I've been in medicine.
Wow.
It was absolutely, there was no reason not to, because there's nothing going to the body. There's literally nothing. They are non-transdermal. So there's no downside, there's no interactions, there's no medication interactions, there's no um, side effects that are bad. The side effects are good. They are effects. But there's no contraindications. And so, again, knowing what I know, and despite many people thinking we have quick fixes in medicine with medications and surgery, the body takes time to heal.
Mhm.
So I kind of told my mom, I told my mom that she needed to be patient. And I was shocked because within 2 weeks, she went from having to stop every 2 to 3 steps to catch her breath when we would walk, to walking 4 blocks, talking to me, and walking on a slight incline, which she usually would avoid. She would tell me, like, we're not going down that block, we're not going here, because she would get short of breath. And then within three,
Wow.
she had to have her thyroid medication lowered. Her doctor lowered her thyroid medication. And so I mean, right, a lot of people say, well, it's a placebo effect, right? I know, first of all, I know firsthand, my mom, there's no way that's a placebo effect, because she did believe it. Um, but I, I started sharing with people around me who I know were suffering and not getting relief with any prescriptions or any surgeries, any procedures. And I just started seeing literally miracles. A
Wow.
friend of sciatica for 5 years, it was gone in 3 hours. My mom's friend, who he wanted to use the patches because he saw her and she had so much energy and she was glowing, and he said, I want to try them. He had headaches, but the headaches, after 2 months, the headaches were still there, but he was no longer needing his reading glasses.
You're kidding me.
No. And lots of people, the longer they wear them, the more changes happen. But two really important features that I feel the world needs to know about, um, that I want to stress, is people that I know personally that are friends of mine. One of my friends' moms had long COVID, whatever it is, right? She had the symptoms, did not get the vaccine, but she had the symptoms for 3 years, lived in a city up north here. The family had to move her down here. So she moved in, the daughter moved in with her, because she couldn't cook. She had no energy. She was going to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon. She had pain. She was depressed, obviously, from this. In 3 months of using the patches, her long COVID was gone.
Wow.
And she's had a multitude of stories, and just one that ties into kind of where I'm coming from, the operating room. She had to have, or she had surgery on one of her feet. And after that, she had 8 out of 10 pain. She was given hydromorphone, like nonstop. Everything she was given, it just did not, it didn't affect the pain at all. And so she suffered for about a week post-operatively. That was prior to using the patches. I didn't know about this until she had to have surgery on her other foot. And then the family contacted me, and they were bracing themselves for the same post-operative recovery, because that's what happened before. But she had now been using the patches for 3 months. They literally gave her some hydromorphone in the recovery room, which they always do. She went home the next day. She had one Tylenol and did not have anything else for pain. She had some mild discomfort, but that is because she was using the patches. Like, I can tell you, I'm going to tell you one more story, because this, and then I could go on for hours. Um, a friend of mine here in one of the health food stores, I didn't know that they had both taken the COVID shots. And I know the lady who's a friend of mine, her husband, he's now become a friend, but he got severely harmed by them. He was super athletic in his late 60s, would do 8-hour mountain bike races. He got myocarditis. He had brain fog. He had inflammation and swelling so badly he couldn't put any shoes on. He would go to emerge. All they would do was give him prednisone. He said he had a film over his eyes. He couldn't see, tinnitus. Anyways, a whole host of things. He is now, so it's been a year that he's been on the patches. He started to notice changes right away, but he is now better athletically than he was before.
Wow.
So yeah, it's remarkable because, you know, and some people say to me, well, why do we need these patches? I want to do everything naturally. I get it. I totally get that. And that's kind of that's where the mindset is that I come from. However, the world that we live in is not the world that our body is designed to be in harmony with,
Correct.
right? And so to me, we need more support and, you know, we would like to have, because we're getting toxins in our water, in our air, in our food. We live indoors under artificial light. We're swimming in the non-native EMFs, right? We can't get away from them. They're in the ionosphere, right? They get reflected back.
Yep.
We're not necessarily grounding as much as we should be. We live indoors. So I feel any support that we can give ourselves to the most natural kind of aligned tool possible, because really this is just assisting our body in doing what our body is already designed to do. So it's not creating imbalances, right? Our body has a wisdom that we just can't we can't figure out. I don't even think we should be trying to figure out, because we're never going to get it.
No.
Um, we've got a minimum of 100,000 reactions going on every second of the day in every cell. Our body knows what it's doing. We just need to support it properly. So for me, these are my preventative strategies, because with working in the hospital for 30 years and what I've seen, not through any ill intent, but just the nature of the way the system has been designed and works, and there's complications that take place and arise, I really don't want to go in there if I don't have to. So I'd rather spend, I think it's less than $4 a day. So I don't know how many people go out and buy a Starbucks a day or
Hmm.
a bottle or two of wine a month. I know we're wine doesn't make us off.
Netflix. So, with that being said, where can people find these patches and where can I get them?
So yeah, it from me, you can,
Ah,
so it, and I say this, it is through network marketing.
I thought so. Yep.
There was there was intention behind why David Schmidt, the inventor, owner, CEO of the company, went with network marketing. It is a technology company. It's not just about health. He is about helping the people of the world not be dependent on centralized systems. Let's just say it that way. He is very aware of everything that is going on in the world. There's a documentary that's going to be released very soon that Mickey Willis, who did the Plandemic series, did on David Schmidt. So they very aligned with us. And one of the ways network marketing is not seen as a threat to the wellness, the health, or the disease model, because most of the public doesn't necessarily take network marketing seriously, or that's what the governments think. So
Correct.
that's one layer removed, but also the power of stories, like the stories that I just shared with you. If he was going to put them and sell them through GNC, the company, but they'd sit on a shelf, no one would know what they did. Why would anyone buy them? Right? It's the stories that people experience and then share that really is how we know things exist. And another thing that I just want to say, because um, people do get turned off of the idea that it's network marketing. They love this idea of the patches, and then they hear it's network marketing. They say, "Yeah, I don't want that. I'd rather
Yeah.
go buy some on Amazon," which who's getting the money when you purchase on Amazon,
Exactly.
Walmart, Costco,
Yep.
and they're putting their money into advertising and trying to brainwash you. Whereas who would you trust more? Someone who is a friend of yours that tells you about this, what they've experienced, or someone who's being paid to, because it's paid lying, right? Advertising is paid lying.
Correct. So is there a link people can go to, or is it on your website?
It
Patches.
it is on my website. So
Yep.
Rachel my site is rachelmauricemd.com.
Yep.
I do I do like to speak to people to make sure that they sign up and get what they want, because there are different ways to sign up. So, if you can contact me, that'd be great. I know a lot of people don't necessarily want to, so there are links you can sign up, with the link, but I really do encourage you to contact me and speak with me directly, because I can help. It can, depending on what you want, because there is also a financial opportunity there as well.
Where can people speak to you? Where can they contact you? Not just through your website. Where else can we find you?
Yeah, you can also find me on Instagram. It's
Yep.
Rachel_Maurice_MD, and you can private message me there. Also on Facebook, it's Rachel Maurice. And I also have an app, which I haven't been marketing.
Ooh,
It's still kind of coming together, but it's available both on Apple and, yeah, on Apple and Android. And it's just Rachel Maurice MD.
nice. You have to download that if it's available in Australia, of course.
I don't, what, it wouldn't be, or because of the censored
I have
restrictions,
no
or
idea. I'm gonna have to once we stop recording. I'm gonna have a flick through and find it. Rachel, thank you so much for all you've shared today. I really encourage people to reach out to you, actually. You're just awesome. So, yeah, I really encourage people to reach out to you, especially my audience. There'll be links to everything we've spoken about today. So, just jump in the show notes and have some fun in there and start taking your health seriously. Rachel, is there anything you'd like to leave my audience with before we jump off? Feel free.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is really fun. It was nice to reconnect. Also, I think the last thing that I really want people to understand is what we are told by the traditional and modern medical system when it comes to diagnoses, or even just symptoms. When we go to a doctor, we're made to feel like our body is broken and there's something wrong with it. And our body is not broken. Our environment is broken. Our environment is the problem, and our body is adapting. So it's not doing anything wrong, it's just adapting to the signals in our environment for our survival. And sometimes those just express unpleasantly, or the body's just doing the best that it can. But really, it is the environment that's broken, and that is where the focus needs to be in being able to achieve true health.
I love that. Rachel, thank you once again. Just anyone out there, just after everything that's been shared today, just use your discernment. Also, do your own research. Don't just take our word for it. Also, actually try some of these products. I was the same, trying to do things naturally. Then I was like, well, these glasses have actually changed. I'll be the same with the patches probably once I get involved in that. It's the same. Just have a crack at it, do it. You'll feel better, you'll look better, you'll be able to do more things, and we've got to start taking our health seriously, especially us younger people as well. You know, if you're my age or younger, start now. Why wait till you're old and disabled and trying to fix it? Fix it now. Start now. If you're even super young, start as young as you can, and just you'll just feel and look so much better. You'll anti-age. You'll do all the cool things, and yeah, just take it seriously. So, Rachel, thank you. Everyone, thank you for listening and watching wherever in the world you are. I'll see you guys all again real soon with some more awesome guests. Rachel will definitely be back on the next few months again because this information just needs to be out there to more people. So thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.